Hello everyone, thank you for watching my presentation on professional development reflection. This semester provided me a variety of reflective experiences and has further informed my practices as a teacher. These experiences helped reinforce and create the foundation for development as a teacher. As you may know, for any teacher who is motivated and persistent in the quest to become a good teacher, development is key. Prabhu, 1990, tells us that when we encounter an instance of really bad teaching, it is most often not a case of the teacher following a method with which we disagree, but rather of the teacher merely going through the motions of teaching with no sense of involvement. Often, this lack of involvement comes about as stagnation sets in and teachers begin to cease to develop and grow as teachers. The practice of reflective teaching helps teachers develop into more rounded and knowledgeable educators. This practice of reflective teaching is defined by Richards and Lockhart, 1994, as when teachers collect data about teaching, examine their attitudes, beliefs, assumptions, and teaching practices, and use the information obtained as a basis for critical reflection. This could have served as a central theme of the Practicum course. Much of the course centered on observations in some form or another, followed by reflection and discussions on teaching practices and our attitudes, beliefs, and assumptions about them. The observation served as a way to collect data, and the discussion served as a way to re-examine our views on teaching. Murphy, 2001, lists three purposes of reflective teaching. 1. To develop a better understanding of teaching and learning process. 2. To develop a larger inventory of strategies to use as options in the classroom. And 3. To improve the quality of the learning opportunities available to our students. One of the contemplations employed in this course was thinking about one's strengths, both at the beginning of the course and at the end of the course. For my previous strengths, I believe that they are the same or very similar to the ones at the end of the semester. That is, my end of the semester strengths seem to be paraphrases of my strengths from the beginning of the semester. One new strength is the third end of the semester strength. At the end of the semester, I believe I work well with other teachers during collaborations. While I would have not considered myself the opposite before the Practicum course, after the collaborations I have been involved in, I feel that I have come to see the strength in myself. As for my areas of improvement, I feel that they have changed somewhat since the beginning of the course. I feel I have improved in the original areas that I set out to accomplish, and I feel that my new areas for improvement are mainly centered around having a healthy lifestyle. As anyone who has completed graduate work can attest, it is a stressful endeavor. So for me, my areas for improvement are centered on getting my health back and remembering some of the enjoyable aspects of teaching that facilitate solidarity with students and teachers. For instance, chatting with students or teachers between classes and playing games with the students during their recess. While these activities do not have any direct language learning goals in particular, they help build relationships with students and teachers. This in turn helps reduce anxiety and improves motivation. It's also a good opportunity to employ communicative language practices. Looking back at my short-term goals, I have not found as many activities that facilitate students staying on task as I would like. While I have been able to determine which activities that I already use help keep students on task and which do not, I still hope to find more activities that facilitate this. Part of this may be due to the never-ending energy of young learners, which makes keeping students on task difficult at times regardless of the task or activity employed. I have also begun to collaborate more with homeroom teachers in the schools. Most recently, I contributed to a demonstration lesson organized by a homeroom teacher for another new teacher, the vice principal, and the principal. Before the lesson, we both exchanged ideas of activities to use in the lesson. Then during the demonstration lesson, we both took roles and shared the task of teaching. This was a very productive and well-received lesson. It took advantage of a number of different approaches that each of us used and helped make a well-rounded lesson, as well as being a model for future collaborations between ALTs and homeroom teachers. I look forward to expanding in the number of collaborations like these in the future. For future short-term goals, I hope to begin spending more time interacting with students and teachers in between classes, as well as during their free time. I hope to make much more visible role in the local community by volunteering for more extracurricular activities and events. I also hope to spend more time taking up specific goals I have for developing my courses. Lastly, one of the big short-term goals I am looking forward to after graduation is creating a phonics program sequence for each grade with a variety of activities designed to ensure that students can differentiate and use the different graphemes to spell basic words. I also hope to develop some teaching materials such as charts and diagrams of how to articulate the sounds. After reviewing my long-term goals to complete after graduation, I have found that they have stayed the same. The reason I believe they have stayed the same is because I have still not finished the TESOL's master's program. Because of this, I still have not been able to find the time to dedicate to these goals or come to terms with them. However, I have found one more goal that I'm thinking about, which is to help homeroom teachers develop a better understanding of activities they can use in the classroom and when using them is appropriate. I feel that as they are now going to begin teaching English, there are some finer points that they should know about English education. I would also like to inform them about some of the approaches in the field as well as the benefits and other aspects of using them. After graduation, I will need to keep up my skills in following the academic world of language teaching. Joining the JOLT Association will greatly support this endeavor. In addition to local chapters that hold meetings throughout the year, the association also holds national conferences that take place annually. Taking part in these will greatly benefit my ability to network, learn, and keep up to date on the academic world of language teaching. Lastly, of my long-term goals, I feel it would be ideal to give a presentation at an annual meeting or conference to get input on an area of research I would like to look into. There are some priorities I have as a teacher, as well as some strategies to help keep these priorities in place. My first priority is not to stagnate as a teacher. My strategy is to try and think about what I enjoy about teaching and continue practicing reflective teaching. This involves some of my short-term goals and long-term goals as well, such as becoming a member of JOLT in an effort to continue the practice of reflection on my own ideas and attitudes about language teaching. Another priority is to stay connected. My strategy is to seek out collaborations and discussions about language education, as well as seeking to develop networks of educators. This also includes some of my long-term goals, such as working with homeroom teachers, becoming a member of JOLT, and also to attend conferences so that I can network with other teachers. One of the most valuable reflective tools I found this semester was the use of self-observations by making recordings of my lessons. This practice was beneficial because it allows you to reflect on things usually not noticeable to teachers. In the midst of a lesson, teachers have a number of different things going through their minds. When you record your own lesson and review it, you can really take time to examine how your decisions you made for the lessons played out during the lesson. You begin to notice things that you had not noticed during the lesson. You begin to have a fuller picture of the lesson. This allows you to have more time to think about a particular part of the lesson, reevaluate it, and make more thoughtful decisions about the structure of the next lesson. Recording your own lesson also allows teachers to save the lesson for future reference. One of the difficulties of lesson observations is that other teachers may be teaching at the same time of the demonstration lesson. If your recordings are made of the lesson, any teacher can see it when their own schedules allow for it. This in turn allows for more feedback from a number of different individuals. One of the most important things for self-observation is the privacy of students and other teachers in the classroom. Before the lesson is supposed to take place, check with administrators at the school to make sure it is okay to record the lesson. Then discuss the idea of recording the lesson with any other teachers before the lesson. Lastly, at the start of the lesson, make sure to explain to the students why you are making the recording and ask it if it is okay. While going through all these steps may seem like a burden, it helps to ensure that no one will feel as though it was an invasion of their privacy. Some other tips would be to check with the electronic equipment that you intend to use to record the lesson. Many recording devices will have a set amount of time they can record. Generally, smartphones and typical digital cameras record anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes. If your class is longer than this period of time, you may need to reset the camera at a certain intervals or ask someone to mind the camera during the recording. Also, always check your batteries before filming a class. Are they fully charged? If they are not, you may find yourself with only a few minutes of the class recorded. One way to overcome some of the difficulties with the recording equipment is to have someone keep an eye on the equipment while it is recording. This can ensure that it doesn't shut down midway through the lesson, or it can ensure that the recording device is restarted if there is a time limit on recording time. This course has been foundational in a number of practices that I have begun to use more seriously as a way to develop as a teacher. It has enabled me to learn how to develop, stay engaged, and reflect on my practices as a teacher. It has also left me with the belief that as I continue to practice reflective teaching, I can avoid some of the pitfalls that lead to stagnation and burnout. I will continue these practices as I begin a new phase in my career after graduate school. Thank you for taking the time to watch my presentation.